Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, grab your drink, pen and paper. You know, we have some figures I need you to write down today. So take pen and paper, the young ones. Sit tight. We'll be right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. We're going to get a couple of updates and then we're going to get into the meat of the matter. We know we have to continue from last week, of course, and then we'll get into the meat of the matter. First update, the Public Workers Union, they have received all their monies from December to date. The government of Grenada has paid them their monies. Out of the way, we have some maths that not maths in. The Carnival over and our maths still not maths in. I have from you some interesting updates. Let's first deal with Handy, Minister of MIT. And remember, we spoke last week of him receiving an allocation of $24.5 million in the 2024 supplementary budget, the 2024 estimates. And so I did read for you from paper, right? You don't have to go in my stash. So we did. I did read for you from paper, and I got to get my glasses in the same vein, right? And they had broken it down, and he got like $8 million under Vote 29, Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, and community mobilization. That's the project, community mobilization and empowerment, and the project number is 0114502. Now, under that project is the rehabilitation and construction of small roads within the parish, within the 6 parishes throughout Grenada. This represents, you see how broad and wide, right? This represents approximately 20 small roads to facilitate the completion of 26 houses and the completion of 15 new houses in St. Patrick's. So in other words, there were 26 houses being built in St. Patrick's already, and that $8 million was to help to facilitate in the completion of these 26 houses and then to build 15 new houses. All of that is in St. Patrick only, the houses, right? And then there was a 1.5 million under the same, under a next project, and that number was 0048564, and that is Hurricane Beryl for 1.5 million, and also under that same code for the project, the 15 million to build 200 houses at $50,000. We know that one by heart now, right? We know that one by heart now. So that would have been a total of $24.5 million. Okay. So I have here the government of Grenada estimates and expenditure 2025. And it goes for 2 years. Normally they do it through. So to 2027. Under the same vote 29, Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, capital expenditure by project. Now, under the same code, right? The 0114502 code, and that's where the allocation was 8 million. There was 1 million left from the budget before, plus the 8 million, and then we have a 9 million allocation. But guess what? Andy spent $26,800,000 in 2024. Yeah, your pen and your paper. Andy, with 9 million was allocated, Andy spent $26,800,000 on roads, small roads, 20 on the 26 houses that was to complete, and the 15 to build from scratch. Wherever in the world are these houses, we would like to know, because they're definitely not in Grenada or in St. Patrick, should I say. 26 to complete and 15, mark that down, 15 new ones, right? My man spent $26 million. And you're telling us MIT is not a ministry of mischief? MIT, 26,800,000, right? That's not all, That's not all. Let's go further down, right? Under the next code, which is 29,004,8564. That's where he had the 15 million to spend, plus the 1.5, right? So remember, those two were hurricane Beryl responses, right? So one was 1.5 million and the other one was 15. So it came up to 16.5 million, right? He spent $8,596,407 under that particular code, right? More than half, a little more than half he spent of that money. Plus, this is the one. You see, the Beryl one, it's easier to detect, because of course we know we're looking for the Build Back Better houses, right? And the $250,000 ones. But they could tell us anything about the roads he's supposedly building. And we have a Ministry of Infrastructure. I'm not sure why they're giving Andy money to build roads. We understand why. I should say I'm not sure why. I understand why, right? So he spent, I can't get over this myself, $26,800,000 in 2024. What did they say when the cat's away? Right. So we now have some $11,526,423 that we need to account for, because his allocation there was 9 million. And he spent 26 million. 26 million. So under the code 0048564. So from the supplemental under the code 0048564, that's where he had 15 million plus 1.5 million, right? Which gives us, of course, 16.5 million. He spent $8,596,407, right? So we have a balance there of $7,903,593. And of course, the big one, according to Stanford, the big one, right, is the under the code 0114502. And let me tell you, it's the same as in the supplemental. The codes and the vote is under this, it's the same. So it's the same minister, Andy Williams, getting these monies under his ministry, MIT, right? So in this case, he spent more than what was allocated, right? 17 million more he spent on roads and houses. 17 million more. So guys, we have some homework to do. We have to find out where this $26.8 million have disappeared to. We have to find out. And that's not joke money. Because don't forget, we're supposed to be borrowing $800 million we're looking for. So every little penny counts, right? Every little penny counts. Now, listen to this. The government of Grenada estimates and revenue and expenditure 2025 to 2027, aka the budget of 2025, under the same vote 29. Under the same vote 29, Ministry MIT. And then there is the preliminary, and listen to the word preliminary, financial report of the Golden Jubilee celebrations. It was not audited. So they gave us a preliminary report. But you see where they shove it. We asking for it all the time. The opposition asked for it. They shove it there now inside the budget. They ain't tell us nothing. They ain't bring no report to us. They just shove it inside the budget. So let's go through that for a minute. Right. Financial preliminary report. Where facts come first. They say on Thursdays is live and on Sundays is facts. We'll get a rally in Busheju every Sunday to hide the crowd, the spaces. But we'll come to that. Let me not get ahead of myself. Buckle down. Buckle down. So now, in 2023, on the capital expenditure, there's an allocation for $6,750,000. In 2024, on the actuals, $5,581,156. A total of $12,331,156. Keep that on the side there. They are telling us in this document that central government gave them transfers, so to speak, $12,660,600. Right? That's what they got from central government, and not 22.5 million, as the Minister of Finance stood up in Parliament and told us. Okay? We're moving on. So then they clump stuff together, a lot of things together, and we don't know what's in there and who get what. So they said they got donations totaling $849,252.90. Donations $849,252.90. Event scales $10,425. Other receipts $238,890.38. Sale of merchandise, that's t-shirts and so, that's $139,544.80. Ticket sales. I don't remember there were any event that was paid during the whole celebration. As far as I remember, all events was free. But they said ticket sales, but see, you had to add up. The stuff had to add up, and you had to switch, and you had to doctor figures and stuff. So for ticket sales, they have $55,824.20. Total receipts, that is the revenue they have altogether, including what they got from central government, that 12 million, they ended up with $13,963,437.68. So let me repeat that figure for you. $13,963,437.68. That's the revenue. And then they come down to payments now. And they have for accommodation, and I think mainly the Ghanaian president, the delegation, and that is $235,866.68. Advertising and marketing, $770,398.35. Awards and gifts, $173,093.88. Bank charges and fees, $2,860.29. Country decorations, and that should include the lights and the steelworks. And we have here $1,426,178.39. Delegation expenses, $235,341.61. Event costs, event costs, bar and food, $1,075,997.05. No, that's for the VIPs. Then they said drone display, it got down to $362,375.40. That does not add up to $150 USD. So they have entertainment accommodations. I'm going to go through in an effort for time, in the interest of time, sorry. Entertainment accommodations, entertainment performances, equipment and venue rentals, event decorations. Did those events go to let decorations? We've been asking, we can't find out who are the persons. Then they have event production, $768,533.96. Events wages, fireworks. No, wait. The fireworks, when they gave the opposition some $20,000 for the fireworks. Today, the fireworks came up to $1,503,571.97. I don't know how it went from 20,000 and some, even if they add in here the cost of the 2025 celebrations, the 51st anniversary. We can't get to $1.5 million for fireworks alone. Folks, so then they had other events cost, school treats. The school treats is $105,351, right? So total events cost, when you put it, go up to on the other page, insurance and janitorial services, meals, motor vehicle expenses, office supply software, production and printing material, rent and lease, salaries, transportation, travel, other payments, utilities. The total payments came up to $13,687,548.02. Now, they tried their best to fit it into the revenue here, which is $13,963,437.68. So they had a balance of $275,889.66. However, remember, they said they got $12,660,600 from central government, right? According to, remember a figure I tell you to hold by the side there, so according to the budget, right, to the estimates in capital expenditure, they were given $6,750,000, and on the actual, they got $5,581,156. And when we total that, they miss it. They miss it. They miss it by a few $100,000, right? So when they add up these two, I don't know if they didn't consult with the Minister of Finance before they tried to doctor these numbers for us. So when they add up what they say they give us in the budget, it's in the budget. It came to $12,331,156. But according to the document, the financial report, the preliminary financial report, they were given $12,660,600. Liar. After the Minister of Finance stood up in Parliament and told the nation and the world that they were allocated $22.5 million. So, folks, this is where we are today. We're not sure now how much the lights cost and how much the metalworks cost. All of that was clumped together under country decorations. And it totaled to $1,426,178.39. This is what we finally decide after we taunt and taunt, but we won't continue to taunt, because we still need to know where the balance. Where is the balance? We need to know where is the balance, which would bring us to the $22.5 million. So we're going to continue from last week, because as I say, we have a meter the matter we had to deal with in the back. So let's get going. So we have to follow up from last week's program. And for those of you who were not or have not yet seen last week's program, you need to go look at it. But I'll give you a quick little précis as to what we were talking about. Is this asphalt plant that's being built in Woodford, St. John, a residential area. To use the word of one of the residents, Mr. William Hector, he said it was pristine when he brought lands there to retire into the nice breeze, I guess, ocean and trees, forest trees. And now they're going to put a privately owned asphalt plant. Nobody seems to know about it. They spoke to the MP of the area, Karine James, who said plainly that she knows nothing about it. The Prime Minister, in an interview, spoke of it with confidence, and so apparently the Prime Minister knows about it, but the Ministry of Planning and Development, or not ministry, but the Planning and Development Authority, because it's no longer a ministry, they don't know about it. And the Prime Minister is a minister responsible for Planning Authority. They have no idea about it. And so we're moving on from there, right? I'm going to start off by playing to you an editorial complements the Bob Report, Dr. Kellen Bob and the Bob Report, to kind of summarize to you before we move on.
Now, the relationship between Grenada and the St. Lucia-based firm Construction and Industrial Equipment Limited commenced in May of 2022 when the former NNP administration announced that the company won the bid to stabilize the Molyneux land slippage, which has incurred several cost overruns and missed deadlines for an official reopening. Extensive deterioration of the Molyneux main road in St. George led to its closure since December 2019, resulting in traffic being routed that is, through the village of Mount Morris. Now that the Molyneux Road has been rehabilitated and the land slippage almost abated, Construction and Industrial Equipment Limited seem to have turned to other construction ventures in Grenada. Now, 2 Sundays ago, the Bob Report spoke with a resident from Woodford, St. John, who raised alarm bells about the company's unauthorized construction of concrete batching plant, which appears to be violating local physical planning regulations. It is also being undertaken without consulting the surrounding, mostly farming community. In fact, the Member of Parliament for the area, Karine James MP, indicated that she was not aware of the scope and nature of what was being erected in this pristine community of Woodford and St. John, whose lands have been historically used for agricultural cultivation. We also understand that the Physical Planning Unit has served more than 1 enforcement notice to the company, but residents say Areno Construction continues their work ignoring the physical planning unit's mandate. Now, while Reno continues to ignore enforcement notices, the physical planning unit has in recent time been showing up its demolition mantle against other Grenadians who have also been violating physical planning unit regulations, like the recent unauthorized construction down at Grandance Beach. So we ask, is there a double standard here?
Now, in the meantime, I sought to reach the Planning and Development Authority for some clarity on this whole saga. And in fact, I was able to reach the tin CEO of the authority, Miss Janice Leslie. Yeah. She then, she was very busy, and she said to me that they had done a program the night before on Beyond the Headline, gave me the link, and asked me to refer to Beyond the Headline. Now, that program was aired on the 24th of February 2025. I like to give my date so that if somebody looking at this 20 years from now, they would know when it happened. I have problems trying to find dates from these media personnel out here where I don't know what date, when it was. They just, so I don't mind me when I give you dates. There's a method to that madness. Now, so on there, Beyond the Headlines, the acting CEO, Miss Janice Leslie, was on there together with one of her staff to discuss this whole Reno matter. Some other stuff that involves the planning authority, of course. But that Woodford matter was the most tickling matter. And so she sent me a link and I went on. And of course, I'll share with you some of what happened on Beyond the Headlines. At the very beginning, Ms. Leslie explained to the nation the role of the Planning and Development Authority, which is now a statutory body and is called PDA, Planning Development Authority. Here's Ms. Leslie.
Well, I have a copy of the act in my hand, and
no mistakes there.
No mistakes there.
Right.
To make provision for the orderly and progressive development of land, and to preserve and improve the amenities thereof, for the grant of permission to develop land, and for other powers of control over the use of land, for the regulation of the construction of buildings and other related matters, to confer additional powers in respect of the acquisition and development of land for planning, to protect the natural and cultural heritage, to repeal and replace the Physical Planning and Development Control Act, caption 241A.
Now, before I go any further, I want to share with you a clip which Dr. Bob spoke about in the editorial, and which will be relevant going forward, so you get an idea of planning authority and how they work. And you might have seen it, most of you might have seen it in the news. It was heartbreaking, but the rule is the rule, and the law is the law, and no one is above the law. So there was this structure being built, a concrete structure that was being erected on the Grandlands Beach, and it was demolished by the Planning and Development Authority. Now, compliments, it was a GBN News. Let's hear.
Skera said for now, the Ministry of Agriculture will not take any legal action against Frank, but he noted that there are violations relating to the Ministry of Lands and the Planning and Development Authority.
Compliments, GBN News. Now let's continue. So then the question was asked about the Port Highway and the boots. Remember, months ago, on the 28th of one of those months, these booths were supposed to be demolished and removed from the port highway. So the question was asked about the port highway, since we demolish it, and the reason given why there is still these shacks on port highway did not surprise me, and I doubt it would surprise you as well.
Let's have a conversation on Port Highway. Last year, and we both had the Prime Minister warning against the ghettoization of our country in general. We had the Minister of MIT and I believe the Attorney General, who was the candidate for the town of St. George for the National Democratic Congress, speaking of the importance to clean up Port Highway.
Correct.
There was a time frame published. Nothing has happened.
Right.
Why?
This I can speak to. All the information was gathered because we did an entire survey of the area. So we mapped the area out correctly, get everybody's names, addresses, the relevant notices were served. Then we hit a snag after that because we had a bottleneck. For instance, MIT was looking to house them somewhere else before we clean up the site. And that is where the problem came. So not to say that we forgot what was happening on Port Authority, or Port Highway. At the current construct, the Port Highway cannot exist what it is now. For instance, the exit from the port is in a mess. God forbid something happens and you have to disembark the port. Where you go next? The structure that is there is really creating a serious traffic hazard and also an issue with the port. So we haven't forgotten the people by the port. Just happened that we have to use a different strategy.
But shouldn't MIT be served notice that you will be acting and therefore they need to act?
Yes, MIT is aware.
No, I'm not saying aware. I'm asking whether MIT should be served notice, because if this is 1 year and counting, and then it will be 2 years, and it will be 3 years, and we all know how Grenada would operate, and then we're into an election cycle, so nobody wants to touch anybody because we're into elections. That is how things has gone. So what can the PDA do to speed up the work of MIT in order to ensure the safety, port, the health and well-being of the population, both in terms of the vending as well as the pressure, blood pressure, because traversing that area 11:30, 12 o'clock lunchtime in the day is problematic, right? What can the PDA do to speed up the work of MIT to ensure that there is compliance? Because the vendors will say they are waiting on MIT, and MIT is government, PDA is government, so they're waiting on government.
So I'm going to ask you a question, Mr. Dow. I know I'm not supposed to be asking you questions.
No problem.
But do you feel as if the government or MIT has an obligation to find alternative accommodation for all of the people on the port? I do not either. I do not either. And the planning, listen, the planning...
Imagine I go and squat on somebody's land and say, unless you find land for me, I'm here.
Exactly.
So I do not believe so.
And this is what we are confronted with, that belief that the government is somehow, our planning is somehow responsible for relocating persons who they were told in many cases, not in all cases, I wouldn't say that at all, but in many cases that you ought not to be there. We have seen that over the last couple of carnivals, right, all of these little structures go up and never come down. And right now they're literally almost up to the gate of the college.
Correct.
And what can we do? I can tell you that the Planning Act is very strong. And if we are to use the full extent of the act, the power that the planning authority has, there is going to be a lot of concerns. But the public, and as I said it earlier, the people of Grenada has to take a decision. Listen, do you want us to be a cleaner, nicer, more well-structured community? Is that what we want for ourselves, or are we going to continue to make excuses for persons that break the law? And the worst argument is the bread and butter. The bread and butter.
Let me
Now, are you surprised that this whole hold is concerning the Ministry of Mischief? Are you surprised? No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And this is a man who talk about his mission to clean up the South and the town and all of the constituencies thereafter, right? You might remember this clip.
And folks, let me just say something before I end. Some administration, they're afraid to take the tough decisions early. But we are not afraid. That is why our Prime Minister said he's going to transform Market and Board. I understand the Lagoon Road. I understand the Lagoon Road was there to be worked on before, but they had no guts. They had no belly. I heard the Wall Street had to be, idea was being, was there for the Wall Street to be transformed, but they had no guts. They have no belly. Listen, we have belly and we have guts, and we are going to take the tough decision, right? And we are going to do it early. And you know why early? Let me tell you why early, right? Because some people would not buy into it early. But if you give them chance for them to see it and for the thing to materialize, then we will get buy-in.
Is the Wall Street transformed? They have no guts and they have no belly. Which reminds me of the question, who gave the police the authorization to release the heavy equipment that was impounded by the RGPF? Who gave that authorization that caused the death of a young man from St. Patrick? The heavy equipment without license and without insurance. It was impounded for that reason. But it was back on the road. And the True Blue Road project without license and without insurance. And that heavy equipment vehicle killed, I like to say murdered, a young man from St. Patrick, because if it was still in the hands of the police, that young man would have been alive today. Just a question I'm asking. Now, this is what the members of the Planning Development Authority, the PDA, had to say on the Woodford development.
Where we have had an outcry from villagers and farmers in the Woodford area in St. John, where there was a quarry, factory being developed. There's a roadway that I understand has been built down to a bay, and I'm not sure whether or not there was planning approval. What I do know from the outcry of the villagers is that they have not been consulted. They are also crying for an environmental and social impact assessment to be done because their lives are being disrupted, peace of mind, the noise, as well as their agriculture. What can you share on this one?
The planning been on top of this project since of June last year, when the initial construction, the site clearing started. The relevant notices were served around the 5th of June last year. The developer only submitted a drawing to PDA for the project as of November.
So, hold a second. I would assume that when the warning was served in June, all work ceased until November, when the drawing was submitted, and no work has continued while they await approval.
No.
I mean, that seems, from what we described at the top of the show, then this is what ought to have been happening.
Exactly. In that case, it didn't happen that way.
Okay.
It's total defiance. They went ahead, installed the plant. The authority has in its possession the application that they made. No EIA was even submitted to the authority.
So is there an application to build a plant that exists?
No application to build a plant because it was ongoing. When the officer went on site in June, project already commenced.
Right.
Without PDA permission. She went ahead and served already for notices.
Right.
They still went ahead and continued construction.
Right.
Installation, not construction. Because and only did a submission in November.
So, and that's what I'm asking. So the PDA has a submission for approval for a plant that exists.
Yes.
Okay.
It is called, sometimes that happens, where a person would build out of compliance, and when we go to them, within the 28 days, they can actually submit what we call as-built drawings. And once they do that within the 28 days, typically, if it's a small or residential, we may still go ahead and do the approval. However, this particular project, it's a huge project. It does have a lot of environmental concerns and implications, and it's really on our radar right now. And I hope they are listening, because we are coming for them. They have been defiant. In every sense of the word, they ignore every instruction, everything that we have done so far. And the bottom line is that sometimes we might be accused of being a little bit slow to act. But when our communities are under attack, and I see that personally, I see that as an attack on our community. There has been a lot of outcry. The eyes of the public are on this project. We are very concerned, and we are not saying that the project is not a good project, but we don't know, because there has not been any environmental social impact assessment. We are talking about rivers. There are nearby rivers. I hear it is an asphalt plant. Right. We're talking about an area where people have been doing sustainable agriculture for many years. Like I say, this project has been ongoing for quite some time, I think, even prior to us becoming an authority, or around shortly thereafter.
No, just started last year.
They started last year. They started last year. And we cannot sit here and not take any responsibility for not acting with speed and urgency on this matter. But like I say, we are not everywhere. We're people. It is brought to our attention.
But this is a larger structure, albeit hidden. A larger structure than the concrete structure on Grand Anse Beach.
Absolutely.
The concrete structure is down.
Absolutely.
But the plant is still up.
Absolutely.
What empowers individuals?
We prefer to go to court on this matter simply because they could afford to pay it. They're a big organization. They've been openly defiant. We rather take them to court. According to our act, they can be charged up to $50,000.
$50,000 is not much.
$50,000 may not be much in the context, but like I say, for us to literally demolish a structure like that, where there might be already be machinery and all that kind of thing, we have to use good judgment. And like I say, a project like this, it takes a collaborative effort. So our partners in lands, our partners in solid waste, our partners in health, we all police, we all collaborate, and we sit at the table and come up with the best approach. But like I say, our radar is definitely on that project, and we are.
Richie.
So you've heard her. You've heard the PDA. The project started since June 2024, but drawings was only submitted in November of 2024 after receiving several notices, right? Total defiance from the company, total defiance. And why not? When the Prime Minister spoke of the project, he spoke as it as being a good thing, everything was all right, that all was well, and that the government was actually looking forward to do business with Reno. Lest you forget.
We're training by the name of Reno is setting up an asphalt plant. Because of the size of the equipment and so on associated with asphalt plants, we invented an arrangement with them that would allow them to host it temporarily at the government sites in Boucheju.
The planning and Development Authority has announced that more than likely they will take the company to court instead of using demolition as they did on Grandin's Beach. No, they said they have options, right? The reason for taking them to court, you heard the CEO, the acting CEO, that Reno has money. The amount charged for such is $50,000. It's like a drop in the bucket, really. And so I asked the question. I called back the Planning Development Authority to find out if, in case they took the company to court and they paid the fine of $50,000, what next? Their building is standing there. Do they have the use of and to continue the asphalt plant project? And I was told once everything falls in line, then. So once they meet all the requirements, right, that the DPA needs, and they said, okay, this project is now okay, then they can continue with their projects. So it's a win-win situation, really, for that company. And it's kind of sad when you see that Mr. Keith sit down on the beach watching them tear down his $80,000 that he might have borrowed from the bank, or that he'd been working all his life on the beach, renting chairs and selling coconut water and the likes to accumulate. And mind you, he is wrong. And he knows he's wrong. He has admitted that he's wrong, that he did get the letters, and that he continued. Because he was hoping that he probably end up like in Woodford, where they probably would sue him, or that he would eventually get the okay if he got to a certain point. So he sped up his work. I think he was wrong. He was wrong. A wrong could never be a right. He was wrong. But times we need to compare. At times we do need to compare. In the meantime, the CTO in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Mr. Kevin Blash, gave us some updates on the other road projects that is in the making, that's been there, that we've been asking questions about. And here's what he had to say.
Begin with you, sir. Let us currently grade the current road infrastructure in Grenada. And I want to caveat this by making the point that in the last year, at least in November especially, Grenada experienced record rainfall. And so we cannot talk about road maintenance without talking about those external climatic factors that affect that. So let us begin there. I want to make that caveat, very important caveat.
Right. So on my end, I'm not sure if I should go about, grading the road infrastructure, because that is a bit of an admission of guilt, so to speak, right? But in a sense, the road infrastructure in Grenada is, there are different elements to it that we can consider. In your opening statement, you spoke to the interconnectivity, which is something that I think we we can boast about as compared to other Caribbean islands. But the elephant in the room in terms of the condition of the roadway does leave a lot to be desired. Even myself as a driver, can admit that, over the years, the condition of our roads has deteriorated and is continuing to deteriorate. And it is something that, almost in every single meeting we have, we discuss, how we can strategize to go about, addressing those issues. And as our discussion kind of progresses, we could speak to different elements of that.
He spoke of the roadways of Willis, Bathway, Grandin's Valley, Molineux, and Jubilee, of course.
I hear Mr. Blash about those ongoing projects, but let us start where we started off last, and that has to do with the Willis Road. Where are we with that?
Right. So the Willis Road has so that is a bit of a complex issue. It is a road that would have started quite a few years ago. To be fair, when I started working in the ministry in 2020, that was one of the the roads that was tendered and awarded. There has been some issues, with between the government and the contractor and some of the designs and so on. So currently we are, trying to work through some of those issues to resolve them as soon as possible. I know that one is especially for the residents in the area is quite a stickler, because the Willis Road is very important for traversing the West Coast, especially traveling from St. George's to Gov and to eventually to Settles. It's part of of three major roads that you can take, either Willis, Monkuma, or the Molinier route. So having that kind of redundancy is very important.
So let us talk about the Grandans, the work that will be done on the Grandans Valley Road there. I understand that road widening needs to happen. Now, when I drive along that Grandans Valley Road, that is riddled with houses, and you have mixed development activities taking place. You have commercial activities. There's a spiritual Baptist church there. I believe there's a Jehovah's Witness church as well, and you have people with private homes there. How will that happen? as someone who works in that technical space, I'm just trying to imagine how that will happen.
Right. So what I should say is that the ministry's thinking in terms of road improvement in general is essentially along our main roads you should have like a somewhat harmonious drive without any traffic issues. So in terms of the work on the Grandans Valley Road, so let's say we start at Sugar Miller, that roundabout there, heading back to, should I say heading to St. David's. So you typically have a bit of traffic, close to Rams, that new supermarket, Sandino, etc. And part of the thinking there is to put in a larger roundabout and to create a dedicated lane that would take you into Lansepine. So part of the traffic that you experience there is because the current roundabout is too small. You have a lot of people who not necessarily go in, down to Morris Bishop Highway, or who head into True Blue that could pass through along Dusty Highway to get down to that direction. So the work there would involve some widening of the road to create some dedicated lanes, so you don't have to, wait for the person in front of you to to make their turn or so, that you would actually be able to create more free movement. Another major aspect of the work there would be to create a new bridge close to, that is just after Bumpy Corner in the region, close to IBH and so on. As we would have recalled in the heavy rains last year in November, and just traditionally that area floods quite badly. So we would try to lift the bridge and the road in that area, and then also to put in a roundabout there, because anybody who drives there now would tell you that they have a lot of issues at that intersection with persons who are now going into Woburn. So it there would be some areas where we can do some widening. That would be but it's somewhat limited, true to the same issue that you spoke about. You kind of have houses built right up on either side of the road.
So we await what's going to happen at Woodford with this plant in the middle of the residential area, and the worry of the residents if it continues. There's also some concerns about a roadway that was built without the planning authority as well, and something to do with a cement plant or something as well. Lots of things going on up there with this Reno company and doing their own thing. They're not Grenadians, plus they've St. Lucians, and I mean, they came here and being able to not abide by the laws. We got to move on because we have some interesting things happened on the weekend. You know, the NDC had their convention and their massive rally, and so we need to we need to converse around that a little bit. Yeah. Sunday, the 2nd of March, big day for the NDC. Held their first convention in 2 years and was followed by a national rally. Both events held in St. George Northwest. The idea, as they say, was to bury the MP for the constituency, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. Not a chance. Not a chance. Nonetheless, if that made them happy, why not? Why not? The convention held at the Happy Hill Secondary School, HHSS, and the rally at the Bushes U Field. Now, a new executive was sworn in, so to speak, with the nation builders, or the return of the nation builders, rather, Andrea St. Bernard as treasurer, and Orlando Romain stepping aside as Piero to Deputy Piero, making room for Ron Redhead as the new Piero. All properly calculated, you know, because Orlando has to be in the executive, whether you're doing it working or not. If you didn't work as PRO, just because there were complaints from persons who matters within the NDC, they moved him from PRO and put him as deputy PRO. Nothing wrong with that. As far back as I can remember, that is how I remember it happening. You know, you sit down and you have your slate and you said, well, I mean, I remember a time when Franca was made PRO and we all knew she couldn't do the job. We were told we're going to put her for PRO, and so she's going to be the face of the party. And then Randall Robinson was voted in as deputy PRO, and he was supposed to carry the job of the PRO, which he didn't either. So we just had bad PR. A bunch of them was on the ballot for chairman of the party, including Dr. Stephen Fletcher and Randall Robinson, Tanti Glow, of course. And a few hours before the convention, Stephen Fletcher backed out and stepped aside, citing medical reasons. Sounds familiar, right? Remember, Franca was removed when she was removed as leader of the NDC. It was for medical reasons. Also, the doctor said if she continue, she can die. Yeah. So Stephen Fletcher said he was stepping away, and Randall Robinson was honest enough to say he was stepping aside to allow Tanti Glow to go through, and he would settle for deputy and support her in the office of chairman of the party. Now, I would have thought that competence would have mattered when it comes to the position of chairperson of a political party, which is in fact the highest office in the executive. But in the NDC, the chairperson gets to chair executive meetings, and whatever other meeting they might have, that's what the chairperson does. And the deputy chair covers for the chairperson when they're not at a meeting. I can tell you, I was deputy chair for years, and I think I chaired one meeting when the chairman at the time was Vincent Roberts. I chaired one meeting, he was absent, and that was it. That was it. We never had, and all Vince did was chair meetings. But when someone is unassuming and naive and placed in a position they know absolutely nothing about, with ulterior motives, someone who is about to be maligned and so unassuming, they believe they're being elevated, it's embarrassing. So Tanti Glow, in all her excitement on Sunday evening, or there in Bushiju, as I said, happy to be elevated, not realizing she is being used to make way for number 10 in that constituency to be the candidate, right? All you realize had the ringer roses that happened when number 10 wanted to come on board. And so she hoodwinked Gloria into believing, Tanti Glow, into believing that they must work together for the common good of the constituency and the country. Ding, ding, wrong. So the ringer roses that was being played, that done, that stopped. And the last thing we heard is that Tanti Glow getting west from number 10. And not just her, the young senator who is working junior to number 10 in the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Now, so the talk came out that this is what is going on, and that number 10 is really making life hard for Tanti Glow and young Civil Francis. And so, probably the next day, they put Tanti Glow and number 10 to swing as kindergartens. No, take a look for yourself. Now, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell also gave Andy some of Tanti Glow's work. Now, the Build Back Better housing project, he gave it to the MIT, the Ministry of Mischief. And so Tanti Glow went to Rose Hill, where just before the rally and the convention, we have friends coming, we have to say something, we have to say what we give out and what we did, and on the platform we have to say we gave out Build Back Better houses, 9 months and counting. And so Tanti Glow went to, was one of the persons out there in Rose Hill, together with the Minister of Finance, to give out keys for the Build Back Better houses. And Tanti Glow, initially when she gave her the first key, she proudly said, on behalf of the Ministry of Housing, forgetting that project does not belong to the Ministry of Housing. Someone might have reminded her along the way. So when she came back, it was clear to her that she had to give out, that she had to say that the houses were coming from, and she was speaking on the behalf of the Ministry of Mischief, MIT.
And now we're handing over the last set of keys to Mr. Anston Barrington. Okay, so both of the keys were collected. Thank you very much. Okay. I do apologize. Shall we invite Miss Torrell Barrington to collect the keys? Thank you. Her keys.
Congratulations. Government of Grenada, first and foremost, the Ministry for mobilization, implementation, and transformation, it is my distinct honor as the Minister for Housing to hand you over these keys.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I want to express my gratitude to the Almighty God for your continuous blessings and to the government of Grenada, in particular the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation for providing me.
So, it's clear. It's on behalf of the Ministry of MIT, the Minister of Housing is giving out keys. Totally confused. Totally confused. Now, as Tanti Glow at the rally, giving her maiden speech as chairperson of the National Democratic Congress on the 2nd of March, 2025 at the Bushes-U Field.
Brothers and sisters, to deliver official remarks at this juncture, we would like to welcome our newly elected chairman and general secretary to deliver official remarks. Let us welcome to the podium Sister Gloria Thomas and Brother Andy Williams.
Put all your hands together for Sister Gloria Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Political leader and Prime Minister of Grenada, Honorable Dickon Mitchell, visiting Prime Ministers and spouse, delegates, special invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, pleasant good evening. I wish to begin this speech by saying that I am truly humbled by the collective decision to elect me as chairperson for the National Democratic Congress. Let me take this opportunity to express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to you, the delegates, for the honor and trust that you have bestowed on me to occupy and fulfill the role of this important office. I subserviently accept your collective decision. I do so confidently, knowing that I can count on your full support and cooperation in the execution of this very important mandate that you have given me. I am fully aware of the responsibilities that come with this office, and so I undertake to discharge my duties as guided by the Constitution with fairness, high resolve, commitment, and collaboration. Thanks and appreciation to all who have served before and have taken this party at the stage where it is at, so we can continue to build and move forward. Special thanks to the outgoing executive, especially Chairman Sylvester Quallis and General Secretary Mr. Larry Barry, who I know have played a pivotal role in keeping things on stream. We are now at a new juncture, a critical juncture. I consider this new beginning a defining moment in our quest to harness and enhance our achievement as a party that we have realized over the years, and more so in the last 2 years. We therefore must become more targeted in our efforts as we position the party for greater success in the next general election. 15-0.
Humbled, she said. She's humbled. And before I continue, Ms. Ellis, Tanti Glow is not a chairman. You either call her a chairperson or a chairwoman. She's not a chairman. She may look like a chairman, but she's not a chairman. Tanti Glow, did you hear yourself? You can barely hold on to your ministry. or ministries. But you're talking about 15-0? I mean, where that come in there? Huh? Be careful, little mouth, what you say. When you're digging hole for others, dig a hole for yourself in it. You just never know. You're struggling to keep up with your ministry. So says you. You're struggling to keep up with your ministry. And now you are given the extra burden of being chairman of the party. Clearly, you are being set up. Clearly, you are being set up to fail. The thing is, I can understand why, but it's not nice. It's not nice. Henry Stanticlo, speaking at it was a town hall in Grand Roy St. John, literally complaining of the pressure she had coming from just the Ministry of Social Development.
And every time you hear the word seed, it creates a buzz on the island. I don't know why they can put me in this ministry, you know. Yes. It's a lot of pressure. Seed need a ministry for itself.
I mean, what can I say coming after that? Best wishes in your endeavors, Stanticlo. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Folks, was Mass in Bushijo. Mass on a Sunday. There could be no other word to describe what unfolded there. When the carnival over, we still need a brighter day. When we done dance the soca, our problems won't go away. There'll still be corruption, yeah? An all-time great of the Black Wizard, or should I say ambassador, Black Wizard. We got to think about our children's future when the carnival over. We got to think about the nation's future when the carnival over. Yes, indeed. Huge crowd, although not as huge as expected. Can I tell on the Prime Minister's face? Take a look, go back and look at the ride. Skerritt was happier than Deacon when Skerritt, from the time he came out of the vehicle, he was grinning. I don't know what he was happy so about. I guess happy to come and make a fool of himself, but we could deal with him later. And mass on the ground. But today, the carnival is over, and we await the reading of the 2025 budget presentation and the $725 million that our finance minister told us about. He did in fact say, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it wasn't written in stone, and that it could be more, less, but more, right? So that 725 million has now metamorphosized, according to use his word, into $825 million that we need to borrow to support our 2025 budget. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Listen to this clip here.
My other question has to do with Grenada on the Regional Securities Exchange. Having followed it over the years, following the budget, there is usually a prospectus that is put out indicating how much money Grenada will raise on the exchange and the period of time when treasury bills and so will be auctioned. I have gone through the site. There is nothing yet for Grenada for 2025. Can you tell us when that prospectus will be uploaded and how much money Grenada plan on raising on the exchange for 2025?
Good morning again on that question, Linda. The government of Grenada regularly raises funds on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange by means of treasury bills. In other words, every 3 months or every year, we basically roll over our treasury bills that we have on the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange and reissue a new treasury bill. Those figures generally has not changed over the years. However, to finance our 2025 budget, we may need to basically increase our borrowing from the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange. We are fine-tuning that number in terms of what exactly would be the portion of debt we would basically try and raise from the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange in terms of new borrowings, in terms of new treasury bills to be issued. And as such, I will not be able to tell you exactly how much that would be as yet, because again, we are still fine-tuning that particular information. But I can say to you that government will come to Parliament on the 7th of March with the budget presentation, as well as we will basically present to the Parliament an opportunity to have us borrow extra monies and so on for all of our development projects that will be coming up. And so I would wait until that number is finalized before I announce it to the nation. I do not want to announce it today, because if I do that today, the Ministry of Finance might be still having to fine-tune that figure. But I know what ballpark figure we were looking at. We're looking at over $725 million for additional borrowings.
So he did say he wait until the number is finalized before he says certain things. So the number has been finalized to $825 million. And now that the carnival is over, we need to borrow that amount, $825 million, to support the 2025 budget. Where is the money going to come from? Where are they going to borrow from? He didn't know that yet as well. So we still don't know. They're going to read a budget in a couple of days. And, well, what am I saying a couple of days? Tomorrow they're going to read the budget. And we don't know where the money is going to come from to support the budget. After the mass in Boucheju, well, that had to be so night, the way it was the screaming and the running up and down the stage and the bawling out and the shouting. Ladies and gentlemen, coming on stage to do for us, we have only it wasn't Bossy coming on stage, right? 3 sitting prime ministers. But on a serious note, after the mass in Boucheju, will all our workers be regularized, forming one public service? After the mass in Boucheju, will the ordinary man be able to purchase basic food items at the supermarket, lowering the cost of basic food items? After the mass, would we have that? So that them and their families can eat healthier for cheaper. Was the rally able to put food on the tables? Because the effort that was put into that rally, something good have to come out of that. Can't be just to show numbers, to say that we're doing good and to energize the base when you all know you're not doing well. And so it was just an effort, another deceptive move on the part of the political leader, Deacon Mitchell of the NDC, the National Democratic Congress, By now, I think you'll need to drop the D. How about the families who lost that young mother who died in childbirth quite recently, a week or so ago, and many others before her, and the many babies that we lost over the past 2.5 years? Do we get a very robust and efficient primary health care system after the mass, after the carnival out there in Busheju? This is Minister Joseph Andel during the campaign.
Can't have a situation where your general hospital is understaffed, under-equipped, women going in there healthy and losing their babies for very preventable reasons. We have to do better than that in and for our country.
We just can't. We just can't have that situation continuing, where mothers are afraid. We have no primary health care where they can go to a district nurse and have their baby. And we can't continue to send them to the general hospital or take them to the general hospital and don't know if the mother or the baby or both will come back alive or come out of the hospital alive. How about the families on the DJ trucks, weekends, weekly, every weekend, begging for help for their loved ones to take them away for treatment, take them abroad for treatment? It especially hurts when it's for babies, young ones who are diagnosed with be it cancer, and they have to beg for weeks. I have known of patients who died while their families are trying to raise funds for them, driving around on DJ trucks weekly on weekends to try and save their lives. The Minister for Health, Philip Telesford, has agreed that the needle has not yet shifted when it comes to improving our healthcare system since June 2022.
I believe the NDC won election on a promise of better healthcare. I do not believe that we've actually significantly moved the needle as far as that is concerned yet.
And I'm going to quote to you what he had to say. And I quote, being told that, healthcare has not improved for the past 2.5 years is a fact. This is the Minister for Health speaking. These people had promised us to put healthcare on the front burner. Vote for us. We would transform healthcare, they said. And he's saying, being told that, healthcare has not improved for the past 2.5 years is a fact. End of quote. With that rally, do we have no longer the need to borrow that $825 million to support the 2025 budget? Are we now operating in a surplus instead of a deficit? We got to think about our nation's future when the carnival over. the sufferers in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and I make no apologies by using such strong adjectives, because indeed there are those and a greater percentage of persons in Carriacou and Petit Martinique that are suffering. There are those in St. Mark and St. Patrick as well, all victims of Hurricane Beryl. 8 months ago, do they all have their homes back after the carnival in Busheshu? With roofs and fully renovated? Or do they have all the ones who need? Do they all have built back better homes? Not your better, not your better, but the true meaning of better, as in the English-speaking dictionary. Prime Minister, when you lay at nights in your $20,500 house rent, when you lay in that house, that the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique are helping to contribute to pay that rent of $20,500 for just you to live in out there on the hill in Mount Cinnamon. Do you ever think of the elderly from Petit Martinique who was displaced by Hurricane Beryl, moved to mainland Grenada, and we have since lost half of those persons who came down? Lost as in lost their lives out of the stress. The last one over a week, maybe a couple of weeks by now ago, who on her dying bed was asking her family that surrounded her, when is she going back home? When is she going home to her house in Petit Martinique? Do you ever think about the families still on the tarpaulin and in tents? Did you hear of the tents that got blown away a couple of weeks ago with the high winds? Blown away, leaving the tenants bare butt. While you sleep comfortably in your mansion, your $20,500 per month rent mansion. Question is, who we paying the rent to? Who the government and people of Grenada is paying the rent to? That's a question we need to be asking these days. The ones still living on the steps and on their houses in the mud. Do you ever think about them? You say, you as an NDC, you have the people's DNA in the DNA. Your DNA is putting people's first, is loving people. We have instead, while the politicians and their friends and their families get rich quick, the poor and the ordinary families remain in the gutter. Let me share with you excerpts of the mass in Busheshu. You'll judge for yourself. For those of you who haven't seen, I mean, everybody tuned in because with advertisement alone, we needed to see what was coming. I was tuned in. I was tuned in from the very beginning. Let's first get Tillman Thomas, interviewed, by the way, by our paid ambassador for the diaspora, paid by the government and people of Grenada, who is hosting an NDC partisan program on Sundays called the NDC Heartbeat, and who's at all NDC rallies, national rallies, interviewing the crowd and branded, wearing a branded t-shirt. And we're speaking of Ambassador Terry Forrester. Now, this gentleman interviewed Tillman Thomas, Mr. Integrity. And it was okay for Terry, being paid by the government and people of Grenada, to be wearing a branded t-shirt in an NDC rally to interview Mr. Integrity.
What are your thoughts?
It's really a great day. It's a great day for the NDC and for Grenada. It's good to see the number of supporters who turn out to give support to the National Democratic Congress. And a very successful convention was just concluded. So it's a really a good day for Grenada, for NDC, and for democracy.
Well, you being one of the founding members of the National Democratic Congress, you have seen it from its birth all the way up to what it is today. What would you say is the secret?
The secret is, I think, sincerity of purpose. The National Democratic Congress has always been sincere with the Grenadian people. Notwithstanding our setbacks and our defeats, we maintain the principles and the values and we forge ahead. And here we are today.
Well, you have championed truth and accountability for many years, and it seemed to have played out, and it seemed to have obviously taken root within the foundations of the National Democratic Congress, and I don't think anything will uproot such a system.
Now that is really part of the DNA of the NDC, accountability and transparency. Notwithstanding what some people are trying to say, the Grenadian people know that we are sincere and honest in our dealing, and we have always been transparent, generally, so I believe that we have laid a good foundation, and the younger ones are now coming forward to advance the cause, to push Grenada forward.
Sincere, he said. Accountability and transparency? Don't go there, Uncle Tilly. Don't go there. But then why won't it be a good day for you? You're on the payroll. And you have a title. What? Deputy Governor General? Our Constitution does not allow for no Deputy Governor General. But you, Uncle Tilly, Mr. Integrity, who always fought for our institutions, and something like our Constitution, you are accepting that role as Deputy Governor General. So why wouldn't it be a good day for you? Huh? And then talking about accountability and transparency. Did you hear that list I read out last week? The questions asked by the opposition that never made it to the order table, never made it. Did you hear? Accountability and transparency. I hope you've heard this one where I spoke of the monies, the top monies that we're told that was spent in the Golden Jubilee celebrations. And I hope you've heard of the $26.8 million that Andy Williams supposedly spent in the year 2024 for building small roads, constructing 15 new homes in St. Patrick, as well as finishing off 26 that was started. and you're talking about accountability and transparency, drop those words, Uncle Tilly. Drop them. Mr. Integrity. What a shame. What a shame. Stand up there being interviewed by Terry Forrester, who's spending taxpayers' money to be partisan. And you're talking about integrity, and what's wrong with you, Uncle Tilly? Come on now. Stop it. It's got into my grandson. Tap it. Tap it. So the NDC's vision, and I don't know if Uncle Tilly not remembering the NDC's vision. The NDC's vision is a green, equitable, and a prosperous Grenada for all. That's the vision. Their mission, the NDC mission, is to build a prosperous Grenada based on environmentally sound principles and a just and equitable society. Our core values. The NDC, I need my glasses for this one, the prints are much smaller. The NDC now re-emphasizes as its core values honesty, integrity, transparency, accountability, self-respect, tolerance, patriotism, equality, justice, and good governance, which includes respect for the rule of law and the institutions of the state. We firmly believe that these important values are prerequisites for sustainable economic and social development of Grenada. And that is correct. But that is if we abide by our core values. Okay? Nothing so. Nothing so. Uncle Tilly, do you know that your NDC administration refuses to give accountability on a number of money matters? Questions are asked by the leader of His Majesty's opposition, and most of which was removed from the order paper in Parliament. It seems like most in leadership of the NDC have agreed that almost nothing was done by the transformation since June 2022. Tanti Close said it. She spoke of it as a new juncture. Here's the chairman of the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Well, I think that the energy is good. There's a lot of enthusiasm, especially now that we have a new executive in place to move the party forward for the next 2 years. So I think that, the crowd is there, the excitement is there, you can sort of feel the energy, you feel the passion, and the supporters are out in numbers. And I think that is going to be a wonderful evening, especially with a great lineup ahead. So I think that is good. It's a great time to rally, especially around our leaders.
Great. If you had a special word for the young people of Grenada, what would you say to them?
I will say to them that the future is with the young people of Grenada, right? Everybody that's stepping up now, as they would have seen a younger leader, we have younger MPs right now who represent the party, and it says that when you step into the roles and take charge of your future, your community, and your person, that you could pretty much accomplish anything. And not only that, but be part of the change. It's easy to be on the sidelines, but it's better when you're in charge and you're making the things happen. So when you're passionate and you want to make the things happen, put your hand up, step forward, step into the community, and be the voice of change. See the change, be the change that you want to be.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much indeed, Chairman of the Grenada Tourist Board. Thank you.
Yes, the energy was good. The energy was great. I think good is not a good enough word for that. I think we have to move up to great. The energy was great. It's a carnival. What do you get when you play a carnival? It's of energy. I do believe that the NDC is looking to us for a new mandate after the carnival. That's not where you get a new mandate or how you get a new mandate. You go back to the polls. So let's go back to the polls. Because you don't put on a carnival show and a poorly produced one as well and expect to get a new mandate. No, it don't happen just so. It don't happen just so. And if you're talking carnival, I want to take you to the stage to, well, who's supposed to be the host? But we're more like masqueraders, if you ask.
She's running. How are you doing? What are your thoughts on this evening's activity?
The most honorable Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell.
The best Mitchell.
Yes.
Young, intelligent, full of vibes.
All the make some noise. Let's welcome him in style.
Mitchell won't tell you no lie.
In true NBC fashion.
We have the best Mitchell and we like it. Young, intelligent, full of vibes.
All you, they coming, they coming, they coming.
The best Mitchell and we like it. Deacon Mitchell won't tell you no lie. Oh gosh, Deacon intelligent, wow, he's so magnificent. Oh gosh, the people he represent, yes, and he will not relent. Oh gosh, the country.
All the make some noise. Put up the flag. Put up the flag.
With Deacon the
Yeah.
Go vote.
Folks, if you look at the screen, you'll also see some photos to back up the coming. They're coming, they're coming. You see if you look, you see the field that's behind the crowd. It's empty, really. If you look at the stands, you see that it's not full and overflowing, as you see in some of the photos. The ones that you see when they're showing the host and hostess on the stage, that goes from the stage straight back to the pavilion, and it's only heads. It's crowded, it's thick, it's a sea of yellow. But if you look at the height, and that's a peak of the evening when the prime ministers are coming in, they you see them coming through an empty field, really, more or less, right? And if you follow them right up to the stage where Prime Minister's carrot gets served, look at the area there, and right around there, the ambassador to the diaspora was interviewing a young man as well in an open space, in a very open space, right? Those are not my photos. Those are nobody sent me those photos. Those are photos I snapshot as the vehicles were coming and she was calling everybody, come, they come in. I personally snapshot those. And so the video comes from whoever was doing the videography for the carnival. Not mine, not Simon Says, not LNP. Nobody sent those to me. That's their photos and their footage, their video footage that I use. Not ours. Not ours. Okay? Then take a look, as I said, at the arrival of the caravan. Just take a look at the arrival of the caravan and the photos that you're seeing on the screen. I have nothing more to say. All your big and all your absence. And of course, they had to check boxes. Promises made, promise kept. They've accomplished so much.
In just under 2 years, this NDC-led government has accomplished so much. And we have so much more to be accomplished. The pension.
We pay that.
The minimum wage.
We increase that.
The creative industry.
We unleash that.
The education.
Get better and more
and
affordable.
Carnival.
You're telling me we're building back better.
And workers.
They're secure
and
they're
happier. No more than ever.
Brothers and sisters, put all your hands together for the government.
Put your hands together for the government. It all boils down to pension, bi-monthly payments, and a raise in the minimum wage. All the other things about Carriacou build back better. 3 houses they build back, and that's not better for the people of Carriacou. And we know, as I said earlier, and the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique are suffering. It all boils down to 3 boxes, 3 checks, 3, right? Let's continue. Promise made, promise kept.
Watch me. We going into a little phase there where we gonna ask all you to watch the screens and them. But let me warm all you up a little bit, you know. Show me the thing, show me the thing, show me the thing. Yeah, raise it up. Oh my God. She looked like one of them beauty queens in a boxing match walking around with a little thing. Miss, I had to read it. Yes! So when I say promise made, all you gonna say?
Promise kept.
When I say promise made, all you gonna say?
Promise kept.
Woodford Fish Market and Jetty upgraded. MIT established.
Promise kept.
Kawana Bay dispute resolved. Watch me before I go to that one. All I remember is that old man from inside this constituency here, who 30 years ago went and tell the nation that they could pay people every fortnight, and that they could just go on the computer and you go press a button and all you gonna pay. 30 years ago he said that. Raise it up, raise it up. Bi-monthly payments.
Promise kept.
Watch me. 30 years and the man didn't do that, you know. How long we take to do it?
2 years.
30 days. You see what I'm talking about?
30 days.
Hey. But anyway, I don't like to beat up on old people. Let me go on. Pensions paid.
Promise kept.
Come here again, come here again. Teachers reimbursed.
Promise kept.
TVET expanded.
Promise.
We say gun amnesty.
Promise kept.
We say minimum wage increase.
Promise kept.
We say Crown lands regularization.
Promise kept.
1 billion CBI revenue. Tourism boost. Agriculture boost. But we in charge. We large and we in charge.
What?
I tell all you,
Randall.
we come here to play. You know.
Randall. We can't just say it so fast and move on.
But that's why we had the video.
Pension paid. Pension paid. Free tuition. Watch, let me tell you something. This government on its campaign trail, they say was pie in the sky. I heard that phrase a lot. But after we came into office,
yes,
then they realized it's real oil and grease we working with.
Yes, sir.
They never know NDC could have cooked so.
Hey.
We cooking with firewood,
hey.
oil and gas, toaster oven, air fryer. We upgraded.
Listen to me. Watch. We have something to tell all you. We just decide we will condense it and put it in our video.
Mawet. Windward Fish Market and Jetty upgraded. MIT established. That's all of those are promise made, promise kept. Kawana Bay dispute resolved. Kawana Bay dispute resolved. And why is Kawana Bay still standing as a white elephant on the Grand Anse Beach? Prime spot, one of our most prime spot. Tell us, what's the real story behind Kawana Bay? There is a story. There is a story. So tell us the story. Right? Randall, be careful, little mouth, what you say. You're speaking about an old man, referring to Dr. Mitchell. It's an old man. Depends on what you call old, maybe the numbers in his age, but don't forget. You see, today, you're burying your dad, who's an old man who died of illnesses. Your mom is left alone. My uh, mentor, one of my mentors, my next mom, I usually called her, one of my next mom, and dear, dear lady, dear to my heart as well. She's not well. Over a decade battling an illness. You stand on the stage. Dr. Mitchell's mom is 100 and change, and she is strong and moving about. Be careful, little mouth, what you see. When the carnival over, it won't be a brighter day. It won't be a brighter day. Pensions. Pensions paid. Retroactive paid. Retroactive paid. And that's the hurry. And that's why there's a hurry for pension reform. Because you don't have the money to continue paying pension. The pension is not a one-off. And you were warned that after the retroactive, you have to pay monthly payments. And today, we have police officers and other public workers who've retired still struggling to get their gratuity and to get signed up for their pensions. They are still struggling. So we have to be careful. Pension, you're just saying things. You're just saying things. I would give you bi-monthly, not bi-monthly, the minimum wage, the raise in the minimum wage. That's a feather in your cap. Not even sort of pension, because whichever administration won, would have had to continue paid pension, because pension wasn't something that started in 2022. There were those who were being paid pensions, right? Teachers reimbursed. That was a promise made, promise kept. When on the day our cabinet was being sworn in, the people, likewise the cabinet, were told, and hearing it for the first time by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, that he was going to deduct salaries. He was going to pay the teachers their money from their salaries. There was no way to make it, because there were teachers who took the government to court for their salary, and they lost, because the court said that they didn't work, and so they should not be paid according to law. According to law. Is when Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell got in there and saw the $500 million in the treasury. He thought that was a lot of money, not knowing in running a government, it's not really. And decided he would use monies out of that to show off and announce that he's paying the teachers their salaries. TVET expanded. Come on. We scraping the bottom of the barrel now. That's a promise made, promise kept. Nothing to do with this administration anyway. Gun amnesty. Now that's the one that had me hopping. Gun amnesty. Was that a promise? By the way, how many guns did the administration collect as part of the amnesty? How many guns? The amnesty ran for 90 days from May 2024. Collected was 50 rounds of a 32 ammunition, one Taurus PT-22 caliber auto pistol with 4 rounds of ammunition, and 2 12-gauge rounds. That was it. That was it from a gun amnesty. And you, not embarrassed enough, you have that in your list of achievements just to call out things and so that people not paying attention. Minimum wage increase. Now that, as I said, is a feather in your hat. However, it wasn't done strategically. It was more of a show-off. High percentage increase rates. Unsustainable for most small businesses with 2 or more employees. As a result, many lost their jobs. Many lost their jobs because the employers couldn't keep on the staff and have their rates increase, in some cases 120%, in some cases 200%. Right? Some workers were trying to bargain with their employers to keep them under the same wage. But of course, you remember the Attorney General threatening employers to take them to court if they didn't abide by the laws. Laws that they themselves have not been abiding to. There are still public workers who have not received their increased minimum wages. Yes, there are still those. You pass the law and you cannot keep up with it. Stronglands regulations. What about the regularization of contract workers? You guys are mute on that one now, right? You're not hearing about promise made, promise kept. Regularization, all workers across the board. Oh, we would love to say that or to hear that coming from you. You promised regularization in 12 months. You promised regularization by the stroke of a pen. You said there was no need for a parallel public service. Sit back and listen to the amount of promises made, my friends, in regularizing workers across the board.
So the budget isn't meant to address serious underlying structural issues and fix the government. It isn't meant to address the many public servants who are on contract work and who are crying out for the government, its own government, not to treat them in a discriminatory manner. So the National Democratic Congress will, when it has the opportunity to address those issues, ensure that contract work within the public service is brought to an end.
Most of the government than its citizens. I have repeatedly said, if the task you are performing, if the job you are filling is a job that is always required by the entity that you work for, in this case, the government of Grenada, then there should be no issue of you being on a temporary or a fixed-term contract. Your employment should be permanent, your employment should be indefinite, and all of the benefits that comes with that should be attributed to your employment. And therefore, the National Democratic Congress commits to regularizing the status of contract workers who are working for the government and Imani workers who are working for the government within 12 months of assuming office. At my very first press conference on becoming political leader of the National Democratic Congress, I made it clear that under National Democratic Congress government, there will be one public service. And I am going to repeat that. There will be one public service. If you are working for and on behalf, there will be one public service. If you are working for and on behalf of the state of Grenada, and you are fulfilling a permanent job, there is no need to have you branded as an Imani worker, and there is no need for you to be placed on contract. You will be regularized and made part of the public service. In that position. Right. And I'm saying the job of the citizens, of the government, is to fight for its citizens, to protect its citizens, to encourage its citizens to be independent, not dependent, not vulnerable. So that is the challenge we face. And I'm saying it is solvable by the stroke of a pen.
Yep.
And let me make this further point. It is actually illegal. The Employment Act clearly says that you cannot put someone on a fixed-term contract, meaning these short-term contracts, when the position they are filling is an indefinite one. So the government itself, Congress, commits to regularizing the status of contract workers who are working for the government and Imani workers who are working for the government within 12 months of assuming office. We never said we would regularize the public service in 12 months. We said we would regularize it. And we have begun to do so.
$1 billion CBI revenue. Was that a promise made? And while you're at it, can you find out where that $1 billion was spent? And what came out of this $1 billion? What happened to this $1 billion? Tourism boost, agriculture boost. Those are promises made, promise kept there. If you were listening, what's the agriculture boost? Now let's talk about pie in the sky. Because my lady warrior on the stage said that we said when we heard the things during campaign, we talked about pie in the sky. And when they came into office, we never knew they could cook. So don't know the relationship, what it have to do with pie in the sky and cooking with gas and oil and wood and firewood. I can't figure it out. But I guess semantics. Because it was a carnival. Let's not forget it was a carnival. I mean, it could have asked probably Chris Riggs or Uncle Ricky, who's missing in action, to produce that play, that skit that was going on there. So let's talk about pie in the sky. You came into office and continue to add pie in the sky. A set of fantasies. I mean, in the words of my dear cuz, the tapes don't lie. Folks, buckle down. trucks picking fruits and chiller trucks with solar panels. Pie in the sky.
So if I say to you, we can assist our farmers through GDB by getting loans that would allow them to either form cooperatives or to buy themselves by having chiller trucks with solar panels on them that goes around the island collecting their fruit and in turn driving around our various parishes to sell their fruit directly to us so that they eliminate the need for M&IB, so that they have longer storage and they can bring the fruit directly to you. Would you call that a pie in the sky dream? So it's as simple as that. If I say to you there are trucks that we use to go on the electricity pole, to go on the telephone pole, and these trucks probably finish work at 4 or 5 in the evening, and we can ask the owners of these same trucks to rent them or provide them for free to our farmers so that you can put men in the same bucket and you can go and pick the coconuts, you can go and pick the mango that is in the tall trees, you can go and pick the sapodillas, you can go and pick the guava, anything that you ordinarily would not be able to reach. And you can use these hydraulic trucks to pick the fruit rather than them falling on the ground. Or you can put netting at the bottom of our mango trees and probably use the same hydraulic trucks to shake the trees so that the mango falls and they're not falling on the ground and damaging. You will call that a pie in the sky idea? That's mango on your plate. That's golden apple on your plate. That's sugar apple on your plate. And the more of this we could get is the more we can do agro-processing. Because for us to do the agro-processing, we need to get the mangoes, the sapodillas, the guavas, the golden apples in large quantities, consistently, all the time. And we need to be able to preserve them so that they give us a longer shelf life. So these are not pie in the sky ideas.
You're telling yourself that they're not pie in the sky. Let somebody tell you that. You're telling yourself, but they are. And I do believe there's a difference in a hydraulic truck and a bucket truck. Well, we're talking bucket truck picking fruits up in the mountain. On bucket truck shaking fruit trees with nets underneath to collect fruits. Pie in the sky. Health center and the pharmacies in every parish operating 24 hours a day. Now, I know about the pharmacies, but health centers should be. But it seems like for you, and you as an NDC, that's a fantasy. Let's hear.
So if I stand here without the document, without the computer, and I come to you and I say, the National Democratic Congress intends to ensure that there is at least one health center in every parish that operates 24 hours a day, and that there is at least one pharmacy either connected to the healthcare center or a private pharmacy that operates 24 hours a day in each parish, and you like the idea and you clap, will you call it a pie in the sky idea?
So if you like the idea and you clap, it's not a pie in the sky idea. You just have to like it and click. Now, just 6 months after taking office, Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell promised to purchase 2 planes. If you get upset, and by October of that year, nothing is being done about the LIAT and the way travel is within the region, he was going to purchase 2 planes.
As far as I'm concerned, if by October, November, we don't have an arrangement where us as leaders in the OECS are prepared to do that, then it means in Grenada has to go and lease 2 planes so that we can fly between Grenada and Barbados, Grenada and Trinidad. We will have to do so.
Now, then he came back to tell us that it's not just so. You don't just purchase a plane and fly it throughout the region, right? It's not like you need a new car and you decide you go into the dealership and purchase a new car and you drive your car wherever you can.
It requires cooperation from all the region because you can't just fly between Grenada and Carriacou. You have to fly Barbados, St. Vincent, so you need all of the islands to take part. You need all of the islands to be prepared to give the airline operator the rights to fly into their country. And if you don't have those things in place, air travel isn't going to come down. But it requires regional cooperation. It's not something that an individual island can do alone. Even if we bought a plane,
We need the rights to travel into the islands, right? And we don't have enough traffic. 100,000 people, we simply don't have enough traffic to maintain a commercial airline that just carries people.
Now, it's a little 500 million you see in the transformational fund there. They're giving BDIs. And he's talking about purchasing two planes. Well, what did I purchase these two planes with? Today we can't even fund with budget. Eh? You want to go and buy 2 aircrafts. 2, not 1. Hmm? And then there was the storage 20-foot, 40-foot containers throughout the island.
Storage. Mr. Speaker, as we seek to increase production on all fronts, the need for the establishment of central storage centers will be necessary. This administration will answer the call by using 10 40-feet containers to assist in providing storage for farmers' produce. The containers will be retrofitted with solar panels to provide energy and would be located in different parishes throughout the length of Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, private partnership will be pursued towards the development of cold storage facilities at the Maurice Bishop International Airport to boost export of fresh fish, fruits, and vegetables.
Then we were going to trap the sargassum on the shores or the outside.
National Democratic Congress intends to tackle the sargassum problem that has plagued the east coast of Grenada for the last several years. It affects the tongue of Grenville, it affects most of the east coast. Starting from as low down as Malmont, Lassa Jess, St. David, all the way up. It has become a living nightmare, frankly, for many of our coastal residents. It affects the beaches. It no doubt you have to live with the stench. The residents in Subi's Marquis, and I think all the way into Grenville, you get that stench. Now, if you view life negatively, you will simply perhaps see the sargassum as a problem. But if you view life positively, we know that everything that has been placed on planet Earth is placed there by the Creator. And He gives us the wisdom to find creative ways to use whatever it is that is on planet Earth. So we see the sargassum as an opportunity for us, in fact, to be able to use it to the benefit of Grenada. And so we intend, first of all, to capture the sargassum before it gets to shore. We intend to research, bring into Grenada nets that we can run along the coastline so that we can capture the sargassum before it gets to shore. We can then bring it ashore. We can then store it appropriately, conduct the necessary research on it, and use the findings from the research to create products that would be useful for us. And let me make it clear, there are already other islands within the OECS that has been exporting the sargassum to European countries. So we have an asset which is simply lying along our coastline, and we have not been utilizing it. We are satisfied that we have enough scientists, that we have enough researchers within Grenada, the OECS, and the wider Caribbean who will be able to help us address this problem. And so we do not intend to allow our citizens in Subi's, Marquis, Grenville, and the coastal areas of St. David and St. George's to simply have to continue to live with the stench of the sargassum when it gets to shore and when the sun starts shining on it, which to a large extent is what creates the scent by the gases being released from the sargassum. So we intend to address this matter and address it in a way that will in fact create economic activities for St. Andrew and St. David. So we want to assure you that we will not simply allow this problem to go unchecked. And I think even some of our farmers in the past have to some extent begun using the sargassum as fertilizer. But in fact, there is very little support being provided by the Ministry of Agriculture or any other research department or group within the government. And so that...
And of course, there was the Project 500. 500 houses a year every year. The pilot project to begin in Stony Gut, St. John in 2023. $2.5 million was allocated to start that project. Last week I showed you what was up in Dunfermline, where we had like 3 or 4 thing on the ground. What you call down there? Where they're now starting something and trying to make it look like they getting ahead with Project 500. Where is the promise of the fact we're supposed to have over 1,000 houses? Now, Grenadian style houses.
Initiatives in this budget cycle include: 1. The Stony Gut Climate Resilient Housing Development Pilot Project, which aims to construct modern, high-quality, climate-resilient Grenadian-style homes in Stony Gut in the parish of St. John. Construction is expected to start in 2023, Mr. Speaker, and $2.5 million has been budgeted.
Pension payments, not pension reform. We're talking about the promise of pension payment.
As I stated in my first national address, and which I repeat, as a nation, we must recognize and reward the dignity of work. It is the workers of our nation that have built this nation. We must encourage and reward worker productivity. Our workers must have a major stake in the economic benefits of our country. There must be an end to the so-called contract work. Our workers must be made permanent or be given indefinite status and job security. Our workers, not just public service workers, but all workers, must be paid pensions or gratuity upon retirement. Our intention is to ensure that the workers of Grenada, from the time they commence their working life, are given the opportunity to have a path through which they can grow, through which they can own, through which they can keep and reap the benefits of their hard work. And in keeping that benefit of your hard work, we perhaps want to start with the most topical and current issue affecting particularly public workers. But I want to make this point, that the issue of pension, the payment of pensions, and the payment of gratuity upon retirement is not an issue that is unique to public workers only. It is an issue that affects and will affect every Grenadian worker. And addressing the pension payment for public workers is only the beginning of the process of transforming the working lives of Grenadians to ensure that upon their retirement, they in fact have a pension or a gratuity or can benefit from a retirement savings plan. And so the National Democratic Congress will, should, and when it forms the government, pay the public workers their pension. In fact, our view, and we call upon the government to commence the process of paying pensions to any worker, any public servant who has and who will retire from the effective date of delivery of the judgment in the High Court. Two, we will augment the pensions desk at the Ministry of Finance. We are satisfied that there is no need for any special advisory body to be set up to address the payment of the pensions. A pension secretariat should already have existed at the Ministry of Finance to facilitate the payment of pensions. What we will do is to provide the additional resources to the pension secretariat to ensure that the Pension Secretariat at the Ministry of Finance can properly and adequately, one, within 90 days of us assuming office, ascertain all of the public workers who are entitled to a pension. Two, ascertain how many of those workers have since passed to the great beyond, so that we can assess the payment that has to be made to their estate. And thirdly, once we have ascertained the extent of the pension that is due to the public workers, we will raise the money. We will, if necessary, borrow the money, either by the issuance of a government bond or straight borrowing from the financial institutions within the region, and we will pay that money to our public servants.
He spoke of resuming payment, pension. The former administration always paid pension. And I've played it for you on this program already, the clip of the PS stating so, that 2,000 plus workers were already being paid pension. And that's the 1958 pension plan, through that plan. And that 500 and something was being joined, added to that amount, right? So all this is more deception again, and being blatantly deceptive. Now here's a clip of our beloved Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, who has declared his hand to the world, with thousands following, thousands looking on.
We need to know one another. They have senior members and junior members and those who just joined. We need to know that all of us belongs to the National Democratic Congress. So we can't just argue and fight for what I will get, what I will get, what I will get, when you don't know your people. So sometimes the reason the other side getting is because we're not saying who are the real NDC people who need to get, because we don't know one another enough. So if we are telling the MP or the caretaker, these are our people, and let's go see them or bring the people, then we will know each other better.
So the ones on the other side, they only get because they don't know who they are. Imagine in these modern days, our Prime Minister standing on a stage in front of two of his colleague Prime Ministers and saying this to us. Here's another clip of the Prime Minister before he came into office, speaking to us about maligning people, something he promised he'd never be a part of.
But getting back to the main point, we need to run our country based on merit, based on hard work, based on the desire and the willingness to overcome and to find solutions to the challenges that face us. We will not move forward or prosper as a people if the sole basis for job selection, for promotion, for the award of contracts is party loyalty or personal loyalty. If we continue with this approach, we will be doing ourselves and the several generations of Grenadians to come a huge disfavor. And so under my leadership, I intend to break that vicious cycle of nepotism.
That was then, and this is now. Today, we need to know who you are before you can eat. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Let's hear Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell on stage in Busheju.
So yellow fella who was a popular fella. And then he left the NDC, and then he went over by the other side. And then now he know is no man's land now. And I show back then a lot of all you was disappointed and cried and say all kind of thing. But all you didn't know it was a
Prime Minister said it's a blessing that Peter David left the NDC. First of all, Peter David did not leave the NDC. Peter David was thrown out of the NDC. He was expelled along with 12 or 13 of his colleagues and friends, right? What do you know about NDC then? That you it's a blessing. It's a popular song now, and you just showing off for your friends. It's a blessing that Peter is thrown out. So you put it in there. How do you know that? You were not a part of NDC, not even close then to be a part of the NDC. We're talking 2008 to 13. As a matter of fact, that was around 2010, 11, thereabout. What do you know about the whole situation? Calling and saying, where you today? Miss Corporate Lawyer, where you today? But he's on stage, he has the mic, he has friends. You know, when you're growing up and you have people visiting and you want to show off and you start to do things that you wouldn't do ordinarily and you get the eye from your parents? That's what Prime Minister Deacon needed there. He needed the eye. It's like, go inside, go in your room. Stop. Because there's just no need to go after Peter David there. But I guess he wanted to play the song Blessings, which we all are celebrating Blackadan's win. Congratulations, Blackadan. You know? But he could have done it in a different way. Probably could have asked the two masqueraders that was screaming out on stage to congratulate Blackadan during their whole production there. But he started off, he began his presentation by asking the crowd whose birthday it was in May. Now remember, we were in March. And whose birthday was in May. And if you guys remember what took place in Tempe during the campaign in May of 2022, just to say that he loved Morris so much that the whole rally thing brought back the memories of Morris's birthday. Here is what he had to say to the crowd.
On the stage. And then when they join us, I want to take you down memory lane. So, light engineer. If I say light engineer, you should know what I mean. I want to take you down memory lane. Let me see. If you remember, in Tempe playing field, on the 29th of May. You know whose birthday it is on the 29th of May? So let me see if you remember. And your son's birthday. So he's born on the day of a great Grenadian patriot. So ministers, join us on stage. Songman, turn off the light. And let's acknowledge your blessings and give thanks for being alive and for being here. With just a moment of silence as we put up our lights to reflect all of those who've gone to the great beyond and on whose shoulders we stand. I want us to appreciate also that just like how the 29th of May was a historic day, and on the 29th of May, 2022, Grenada leaned in a different direction.
I think I understand now why he went after Peter. It's because he figured right now he'll be battling with Peter David for the remnants of the revolutionaries, because he playing all along. He's this big revolutionary and he loved Maurice Bishop and Maurice. And so it have a few left in the NDC. But he's thinking that they might go over and follow Peter David. So that's why he decided he's going to go after Peter David. Read my word. Nothing of substance, folks, came from the Prime Minister rally. In that rally, nothing of substance, nothing to show in front of his colleagues. Nothing. Real Mawet. Nothing of substance showing in front of his colleagues. Nothing about NDC and Peter David era. In fact, nothing of the politics of Grenada then or now. Your involvement in our politics is self-serving and hypocritical, misleading and deceptive. It's to get to be the next billionaire. A billionaire scheme. The most richest man in Grenada. The richest man in the region. That's what it's all about. It's becoming a billionaire. Not just you. You and your friends and your families. That little circle. And at the rate you are going, some of you are already there. The richest man in Grenada. The richest man in the world. That's why you can't pull yourself away from Dangote. History will reveal it all. One day, history is going to reveal it in real time. What did we take away coming from the Prime Minister's speech? Where was the hope for us as a people, for the young people of Grenada, Carriacou, and the Petite Martinique? Where was the hope for our rural communities? Where was the hope for Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, period? Especially Carriacou and Petite Martinique. It's your midterm. What have you done besides pay pension and retroactive at that? Introduce bi-monthly salary and increase minimum wage. What are your plans going forward from Monday, March the 3rd, 2025, when the carnival over? What are your plans, sir? We're here the same way we were before the carnival was held at Busheju Sunday. Folks, that's a wrap on today's episode. Simon Says. Of course, we ran out of time and I had so much more to share with you. But we will next week, same time, same place. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, keeping them honest. Thank you for viewing another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. Bye now. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.